Hey, Al. Now that I have some downtime, I'm fixing to do the updated financial vid about the return experiment we've been doing. And the results are actually far better than expected in the last one, but I'll get into that in that vid. In the meantime, I'm going to take a detour real quick to do, I know, yet another political vid. But I feel the need to charm in on this one because around the internet and the various places you would expect, everybody's going, oh yeah, it's an end to a separation of church and state and all that other hullabaloo. And for those of you who don't know, basically Monday the Supreme Court ruled that it's okay for town councils and the like to pray. Given the way this country is going, I can feel I can understand the inclination to seek a higher power, even if it's not the one I subscribe to. Because I'm not a Christian, and the reality is, everybody's going on and nuts, and basically going, well, this is just going to lead to more Christian discrimination and yada 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 yada. It all started with letting those businesses choose who they wanted to sell goods to. They should have to sell to anybody regardless. Well, anybody who's in business who's not selling goods to someone who wants to buy them, is a dumbass. Opening door competition to do that. But in the case of the Supreme Court ruling, I'm just going to read, a little excerpt here. Shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's the beginning of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And everybody is so obsessed with the establishment of religion clause of that, they forget about the second part of it. Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Not only is the state forbidden in the United States from making a national religion, but it is forbidden from preventing you from exercising your religion. So, if somebody wants to pray, the state is forbidden by the First Amendment from stopping them from praying. Now, they can't force you to pray, but if they want to pray, we can't stop them. At least the state can't. You can choose not to participate. You can choose to frown upon them and say it's wrong and all of that things. And, there's the people, what we've been doing in the country as of late is we've been basically violating the fact that we're not supposed to be prohibiting the exercise of religion. We've been saying we have to prohibit people from practicing their religion because if they're practicing their religion, that's too close to establishment of religion. Again, I'm not a Christian. And a lot of the stories I've seen on this talk about the hypothetical boogeyman and the wink and the nod discrimination. Dan didn't pray at the town council meeting. I want to give my business to Bob, and so on and so forth. Okay, again, not a Christian, and I've experienced that wink and nod discrimination firsthand and all the shit that goes with that. You know what? I'll be very candid. That's going to happen regardless, and it happens in every fucking religion. Every. There's people who just bigots who don't want to do business outside of their little tiny sphere of the universe. And you know what? That's their prerogative. That's their right. If they think that's how they practice their religion, well, I don't want to practice that religion, but you know what? If that's how they practice it, they have every right to in the United States. It's called the First Goddamn Amendment. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay because I didn't pray to the Abrahamic God at the town council meeting, somebody doesn't want to do business with me, because they feel that's how they have to practice their religion. Because you know what? The exact same law that protects their right to do that to me protects my right not to be a Christian in the first goddamn place. I mean, for the love of the gods here, you know? It's just... So, think about this, people. What do you really have a problem with? Is it really that you're afraid of something, or is it that you don't want people to practice their religion because you think their religion's wrong? I mean, granted, most of the objection from this whole, and the biggest voices in the separation of church and state, especially in recent years, is atheists. Not that I have anything wrong with atheists, and honestly, it's the smartest protest I've ever seen. For those of you who don't know your history and the shit that's going on in there, recent things, basically for decades, a lot of atheist groups have been trying to achieve non-profit status as a church. Their argument is a lack of belief in God is as much a religion as a belief in God. And you know what? I agree with them. They're 100% right. The IRS disagrees. So what have they been doing? They've been doing very smart protests. Everywhere they find Christianity, everywhere they find a Bible, everywhere they find a prayer, everywhere they find any of this shit, they're like, wait a minute, we're not a religion, therefore, until we're recognized as a religion, us being here doesn't violate separation of church and state. Get those religious nuts out of here! And they're trying to make it as painful as possible for religious people to be religious because they're not being recognized as the religion they are. Brilliant! But you know what? The fact that they're being discriminated against doesn't make it right to discriminate against everybody else. In fact, I have to remind a lot of my own religious circles. Again, not a Christian. Now, in fact, the really funny thing on this is all 9 Supreme Judges agreed that a prayer, we don't need to kick religion out of government because religion is part of who the people who are governing are. And I agree with that because even though I'm not a Christian, my religion encroaches into every aspect of my life. Everything from the trading I do to the way I run my business to the days I operate, to the hours I operate on, everything. Is the philosophies, the core philosophies, religious philosophies I have subscribed to, run through every aspect of my life, as is the case in most religious people. That's just the way it works. If it doesn't run through the whole of your life like that, you're kind of just showing up because it's the popular religion. If you're truly a religious person, it runs through everything in your life. So asking you to check that at the door is asking to basically leave part of yourself behind. It would be to prevent people who are exercising their First Amendment rights from serving their community in a political way. That's completely against everything the U.S. Constitution is supposed to stand for. So, with all due respect, no, and all 9 justices agreed on that. What the dissenting judges wanted was, they said, we should have a more eclectic, inclusive prayer, rather than one that focuses in, because that's a little too close to establishment. I can see their argument in that, but with all due respect to their opinion, it isn't a prayer if it isn't, towards the faith that you follow. So the reality is why I'm not a Christian, and I do things a little different than Christians. In fact, a lot different than Christians. Most of what I do, Christians would consider evil. They would label, at least some Christians, not all, but some. I have nothing wrong with a Christian praying or praying in my presence or going to a town meeting where they start with, the Lord's Prayer or whatever the hell else they want to start with. What I have a problem with is if 30 seconds later I gotta go, excuse me, can I do mine too? If they have an objection to that, then there's an issue. If, however, it turns into a prayer-mageddon and everybody prays or casts circle, or observes the nimitan, or I'm trying to think of an equivalent Judaic prayer or Islamic prayer off the top of my head. But, it's, as long as they're all welcome, or, the atheists doing however they go, there is nothing, science be praised, whatever. It's, as long as it's all welcome, there's no problem with it, at least constitutionally. You can't pick and choose which ones are welcome. You can have rules and procedures that maybe it's, whichever one the council head is. That's a little too close to establishment of religion too. But basically, one prayer, all prayer. And a lot of cities and so forth, at least where I am, have started doing things like that. They have registries. Instead of banning a Christmas display from the town hall grounds, they said because they allow a Christmas display, anybody else that wants to come and put on a different type of display is welcome too. This is not establishing a religion. It is saying religion is part of the people and the community, which we are, therefore all are welcome. And as long as we come together as a community and celebrate our diversity, what is the fucking problem with this people? It is not, for God's sakes, for the gods help us. I'm sorry, you do not prevent the establishment of religion by prohibiting the free exercise of religion. You just don't do it, people. It doesn't work. That in and of itself is the establishment of religion. The Supreme Court was 100% right on this. The 5 justices that voted for, all 9 justices agreed it wasn't a violation. The only point of contention and disagreement here was whether or not we should force people to be more eclectic than they are in violation of what they actually believe, or whether we should allow people to practice their religion, and then it's a religion for all. Everybody who wants to bring their religion in can bring their religion in. I personally prefer that solution. I find it very... And the fact is, maybe if we all practiced our religions around each other, we wouldn't be the boogeymen to each other on religious grounds. Oh, the gods would hate that.